Hi, I'm Sarah.
And I'm Chantele. And we're here to rank the players for week 5 of Survivor.
Yeah, we've got special guests. I'm so excited. But first, if you're new to this channel, please click subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. And also say hello to Mike Bloom.
Hello, everybody. I wasn't sure if something else was going to pop up on screen because it seemed like every time you introduce someone, there seems to be some sort of graphic. God, what a professional enterprise compared to all the other stuff I put out, where it's just like, all right, we're just going to talk for a couple of hours, and like maybe 30% of what we say works. And even on top of that, it's far from the most visual thing. So applause even just to begin this. Just
thank
a hearty
you.
round.
I love
like
a graphic.
Being like, yes, let's applaud everything. We're here now. Let's all have a nice communal moment of applause.
This reminds me of the SNL skit this weekend. This is totally off topic, where there was applauding the science teacher, and the science teacher was like, "No, we're not applauding." Anyone watch SNL this weekend?
I didn't watch this week. No. Kim K wasn't on, so I did not watch.
Oh,
is that your rule, Chantele? That's the flow chart. Like,
yeah.
Is Kim Kardashian on SNL? No. All right. Well, I haven't watched like 1,000 episodes, but I did watch that one.
The only recent ones I've watched have been Elon Musk and Kim Kardashian. So I used to watch all the time, and then I fell off the wagon, and now, you know.
This is the first time I watched the musical guest because Brandi Carlile was on. I usually skip the musical guest. But anyway, back to Survivor. So excited to have Mike here for the first time on Nerdtainment. And Chantele, thank you for returning. How has it been for you watching this season? I haven't talked to you in a couple weeks. Are you loving it still?
I'm still loving it. You know, you will probably disagree a little bit on the fact that I don't love having all these advantages and all these thingy-majiggies. Yes. But no matter what, I'm enjoying the season. I think it's because they really did a great job with casting these people that I care about playing the game. And so I love watching it. So it's definitely been super fun. And I can't wait to see how the rest of the season plays out.
Chantele, you have a little bit of lipstick on your too.
No way.
Yes.
Hopefully it's
Thank you. Okay.
I mean, listen, you're having your Survivor moment, right? Where it's like, my teeth are disgusting, so like, let me show them to you because I don't have a mirror. So luckily we have a mirror here. It's nice. It's nice. And everything's good now. So like, we should be good. Momentary malfunction. Yeah, I mean, I agree with Chantele. Look, I mean, the sort of like my base judgment of a lot of modern Survivor seasons, it's not to say that the bar is lowered, but I think it should go back to the question of like, am I enjoying myself? And for the vast majority of the time, I absolutely am. To Chantele's point, I think this cast is absolute fire in terms of storytelling, in terms of wanting to play. I'm sure we'll talk about those ratings, about how effective they are. But the fact of the matter is, so many people were so willing to like get their hands dirty from day dot that I think it's led to just a lot of fun. That being said, it does seem a little bit at some points like the show is kind of cheating on the cast with advantages. Like, it's like, no, you already have the cast at home. They're good. They're a solid partner. You know, they provide for you. They take care of you. They look after you. But you're chasing after the tail of these advantages. There's like some hot young thing that might be good for a flash in the pan, but you don't feel anything good after it. It honestly might tear up your life. I kind of feel like we're in that relationship right now where we'll get certain points of time. And I think these two past episodes were probably two of my favorite ones of the season. I think it's not a coincidence that that's because it focused less on, hey, here's some new advantage or a place to go, you know, bid for some new thing, and more so on like, hey, let's have these people interact with each other. Let's focus on these really intriguing dynamics and see what the cast, you know, is shaping up to be as we look forward to whatever's coming. I've talked about this before as the end of really the first phase of the season, whatever's coming next. And it feels genuinely like that. Like, you know, we're focusing less on these big twists and things that people have on their pockets and more of how are people interacting with each other? And how is that going to inform when we get this big mishmash of people together? Who exactly has what it takes to actually make it to the end? Because we're far from the end at this point.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the season has been so advantage heavy, and it was really in our face those first few episodes. But no advantage has been played. It has not affected the actual gameplay, except that I have a theory that they're playing super duper extra hard because of all of these advantages. So I'm not hating it, because is it pushing them? I mean, I think they also know it's a little shorter of a season, so maybe that's pushing them a little bit, but they are playing way harder earlier. And I'm loving it. I'm okay with all of this.
Well, I wish that like, at least somebody that's gone home played their damn shot in the dark. Like, let me see this shot in the dark land on something other than them winning this advantage. And like, I just need to see it play out. So that's also a little bit disappointing, because I'm like 17% not really that high. I doubt that anybody's actually going to roll their advantage unless it's like weighted or something like that we're just not aware of. And we still didn't even get to see that play out or not play out. So
see, and that's the thing though, is that the shot in the dark was created because I talked with Janie about this a bit in the exit press I do, that she basically said the way she saw it, the shot in the dark only really exists when you 100% know you are going home. And I think the issue, or at least maybe part of the core conceit of the twist, is that there are no guarantees in Survivor. So even in this past week, when you have someone like Jeannie who feels like she's in trouble, there's a certain part of the game that's making her feel like, okay, I still think I can stay. In this case, it was her relationship with Shan. So I'm not particularly surprised we haven't seen it not played a lot. That being said, in a post-merge phase, maybe when there are larger numbers and more votes to be spread around, I could see it happening. But I am actually not terribly surprised that it hasn't been played so far, just because you really have to know, like, I am absolutely going to go home no matter what, and my vote doesn't matter. That's the other thing, right? Is that you're essentially giving up your vote for immunity. And with a lot of these people, between like both Sarah, and I talked to Jeannie about this as well, and JD a bit, when you take your shot in the dark, you're going to be safe, but you're giving up your vote, and you might screw up another type of plan entirely. And so I do think with fewer numbers, there's actually less of a chance that you do that, because if you're like, okay, if the votes actually weren't going to be on me, then maybe I shouldn't have done this, because then I lose my vote and possibly screw myself anyway.
And this makes them play harder, and I love it. Now, since both of you don't love these disadvantages as much as I do, what is your feeling on this most recent one, though? The one where you can basically steal if you ask the correct question. Chantele?
Of course, I'm not a fan of it, especially since, like, well, with how the game has been playing out, right? We know that she knows about, like, that everybody knows who has these advantages now, with like those 3 phrases being said at that immunity challenge. So if nobody knew specifically, they have an idea now that something has happened at that immunity challenge. And so Liana, even if she didn't know what was going on with Xander, she now knows that Xander said this phrase, and then she could maybe figure out later that he has an advantage. We do learn in this episode that she goes through his bag and finds out that he has an advantage and he has an idol. And so the fact that now she knows someone that she can ask whatever she chooses to ask out of those 2 phrases and get what is theirs, and they had to like not have a vote for like 3 weeks or whatever, 10 days, however long. You know, it seems a little bit unfair to get to just like kind of steal an advantage, especially when she has all that information.
Yeah, I think that this concept is interesting. I don't think it works in a season where not only did the idol knowledge be so public with these wackadoo phrases, but also like sort of encourages collusion, right? Because they couldn't vote until they got everything activated. And so when you can't vote, you kind of want to tell someone that just because you're like, hey, I'm kind of screwed. I can't vote, so please save me. You know, I do not begrudge what people like Xander and Brad have had to do with telling people I can't vote, so you need to assist me here, because you lose your power in that way. So of course that's going to lead them to tell other people, so that if something falls to someone's lap that says, hey, find out who has an idol, you have a pretty good idea of who has one. And so from that perspective, I don't like it with, you know, I think either have the idols be public information, because that removes power inherently, or have a knowledge is power advantage where you remove power explicitly. I don't think both work together necessarily. And I do feel bad for people like Xander and Naseer and Shan, because this is also something that they could not have foreseen coming whatsoever. When it comes to production, I'm always a proponent of, giving players at least some lead time to think things through and figure out. Oftentimes, when you spring a twist on somebody, you're not going to get the result that you want. You might want to go for this big shock value. Like, Sarah, I know you're watching Australian Survivor. Australian Survivor loves to go for this. They love to be like, we want the big TV moment, so we're going to tell players at Tribal Council that this vote's going to be a little bit different. The majority of the time, you're actually constraining gameplay more than you're opening things up to big new possibilities. And I do think this is another case as well where, there could have been other ways to use this, but now, like, there are 3 avenues for Liana to take. And someone like Xander, who has yet to vote this entire game, might possibly leave the game on his very first vote.
I know. Oh my God. My heart goes out to Xander, but I also just get so excited when people are handed just the worst hand. When people are tortured, I get really excited.
Oh my God.
I know. I'm sorry. I don't know what it is.
I mean, are you a horror movie fan in honor of the upcoming holiday? Okay.
No. I'm not even a Halloween fan. I don't watch scary movies, but when reality show contestants are really messed with, I get really excited. I don't know. It's part of the joy for me. It seems like I'm the only one. Okay. All right. Well, let's dive into these people and their poor games here. In some really excellent games, actually. Let's go backwards alphabetically this time. Let's start with Xander. Hey, I'm just living on the edge, guys. Living on the edge. Chantele, I'm going to start with you. We'll rotate. Mike, you'll go next. But we'll start with Xander. I also have audience input here. So I have their score. We'll average it all in and give everyone their actual score. And just a reminder, we score by dice. So 1 is the worst game, 6 die is the best game. So Chantele, start us off with Xander.
It's hard with Xander because I'd say that he's really great at like landing that phrase. He makes that phrase sound fresh and new every time he says it.
Oh, such great delivery.
He really, really does. Like, he's practiced it. It comes naturally. He doesn't fumble on any words. So that I have to give him a little bit of credit for. I feel bad that, as we've kind of stated here already, that the vote, most likely the first time he plays, gets to use his vote, he's going to be voted out. Like, chances are, unless he uses extra vote or whatever, something else could configure, who knows. But he's just not in a very good position. And I think that he felt as though working with Evie was going to be great, but he doesn't even realize his blind spot actually is Tiffany. And Tiffany is the one that influenced Liana to go through his backpack and get all that information before he decided that he was, or Evie convinced him to go and tell Tiffany about his advantages stuff. I think that he is being outplayed and he has no clue. But he has 2 advantages. So he has an idol and he has the extra vote. So I'm going to put him right dab in the middle with a 3.
A 3. Okay. I can get on board with that. Mike?
All right. So admittedly, I did things a little bit different. Let me throw some spice into this recipe because I think we're in a rare situation in that I think we are encroaching upon some version of a merge situation. I was watching football yesterday and I saw a commercial that said, congratulations, you're merged. So no matter what the circumstances are, we are facing a post-merge situation. Okay. And I think that's going to inform some of my takes moving forward as well. Not only incorporating how they played, but like what looks good for them moving forward, for the other 13 or so days of the game. Oh, do I want to start hot here? Yeah, you know what? I'm going to start hot. I'm getting Xander a 1.
Oh, okay. I was fluctuating with a 2 or a 3. 1, I can even live with a 1. So it's okay.
Yeah, because here's the thing. Like, just this entire pre-merge has been everyone clowning on Xander. Like, Evie, the only person who, like, remotely wants to work with him is Evie. But it's clear Evie has much greener pastures to eat from. He is possibly going to be screwed because of this advantage. Even if he's not, when it comes to a post-merge situation and you look at those challenges, he's someone who I think is in that body type where people will look at him and be like, he's young, he's athletic, we need to get rid of him ASAP. I think he's someone who doesn't necessarily have someone in his corner. And even just like looking at this past episode, the way he handled the Tiffany situation was lovingly laughable. Like, yeah. I felt terrible, but at the same time for him to be like, I'm so, I'm glad you're so cool that I just lied to you and told the truth. Like, the fact that he actually had to say that shows how deep of a hole he dug for himself. And Tiffany essentially pulled him out and he's like, no, I pulled myself out of this hole. No, she put the ladder down. You climbed out of this because she very easily caught you red-handed in all this. And so if that is an indicator to me of how Xander might play when his back is against the wall, I unfortunately, because I love him as a character and what he brings a very like quiet, reserved, confident energy to a show that is usually big and loud and full of blaring horns. I do not feel necessarily good for his chances moving forward. And so I figured, like, let me just put him at the end of the scale here. I think he's in one of the worst positions coming into this group of 12.
I mean, I have to agree with most of what you're saying. I previously had scored him higher because I thought he's good at comps. I think he has the potential to play well. He was just put in a crappy position with the not being able to vote and having to say this phrase 1,000 times before someone else said it. But yeah, this past episode, he showed that maybe comps might be his only skill. I didn't go quite as low as Mike, but I went with a 2 for Xander. He's got no influence at camp with his tribe. He's relying on Evie, but Evie is playing him. He gave away information basically unnecessarily because it wasn't successful. It didn't work. So yeah, I'm going to give him a 2 and the audience gave him a 3. So that is going to average out a 2 though. So he is going to end at 2.
I feel like an a-hole right now. Perfect way to start these rankings. Maybe being the Simon Cowell of this panel.
I can't believe that I'm this time around the Paula.
Like, there's the Xander optimist.
Seriously, I'm surprised about that too, Chantele.
Well,
look
only
at you.
Because like he was like A3 just so low, but I guess kind of like 5, kind of high. But like I guess I'm also just he hasn't done that badly with what we've seen, other than the fact that we can't vote and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But if you look at how he's moving forward, I don't think he has a shot to win. But if they're not merged necessarily and he gets to still play with his team or whatnot, he might be able to still have some safety for himself. So I am taking into consideration his, physical ability to be able to protect him for a little bit. So that's why I went a little bit higher, but I was never going to go higher than a 3 and I was considering a 2. So 2 is fine by me.
Yeah. Averaging out at 2 sounds good. Okay, well, that's Xander. So let's move to Tiffany. Mike, we'll start with you. How do you feel about Tiffany's game?
Tiffany, well, no, Tiffany is super mixed because she has, maybe some of those more negative attributes, but between the challenge stuff and her being a little too vocally paranoid, which seems to be obviously a purveyor throughout the season. I mean, Sarah, to your point earlier, it is sort of like the lifeblood of this season, right? It's like nobody can stay still. Everyone needs to like jump around and do something. And it feels like Tiffany is someone who is always either not necessarily understanding what's happening or is like actively trying to change the situation, which is incredibly relatable, especially from the former perspective. So to be, since I wasn't exactly sure where to put her, I gave Tiffany a 3. Just because I think it's like perfectly right in the middle. I think in terms of longevity, I think she is someone who is probably long for this game, unless something goes wrong where like her paranoia really does draw a lot of attention to her. I don't think she's someone who's necessarily going to be actively targeted in a post-merge scenario. The only way I can think of it is it actually happened back in like Survivor Co. Wrong. If Tiffany is the Debbie to Evie's Aubrey, because we got a little hint of that in this past episode, right, where Tiffany talks to Liana and says like we can't trust Evie. If that ends up coming around to Evie, I could see a situation where Evie says, okay, if you don't trust me, then I don't want to keep you around. I'm going to get rid of you. Otherwise, I think she is someone who is in for the long game, which is good because I think she's a fantastic character. I don't know if the win equity is necessarily there at this point, so she's got a lot of room to play. But right now, I think she's staying the course at the moment. And considering that there was a possible world where she would have been voted out in episode 2, I think that's pretty good.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. That's a different perspective on her game. I'm
That's
gonna go.
a good, very courteous way to say you're wrong.
No, nobody is wrong. That's why we love talking about this. I'm gonna give her a 2. I struggle to see. I feel like she's very emotionally driven. She thinks emotionally. She reacts emotionally. And I'm rarely drawn to players who make decisions emotionally. I don't feel like she sees the big picture. So I do agree with what you're saying. Like she's probably not going to be a target. She could be dragged to the end. She could be dragged close to the end. But as her game, I feel like a 2 is where I'm going to go. Chantele?
Oh boy. I struggled with Tiffany because I don't relate personally, kind of like you, Sarah, to her gameplay and her style of gameplay. I thought it was really terrible when she kind of pushed her agenda and got voted out at that particular tribal council because like they were giving you all this information and like you were in a pretty good position with people not knowing that like, you know, they're taking care of you, but it's obviously it's better for your game. And so I feel like she kind of, I don't know, if it were me, I'd be rubbed the wrong way if like she was acting this crazy and paranoid and all this stuff. And so I don't necessarily think that she is a great game player. I think that she will throw Liana and Evie under the bus as like the first chance she gets if there's a merge. Like I think she's definitely playing for herself. But I think that I'm going to give her a 3. Xander, like they might be able to survive a couple weeks. They might also get to the end. It's possible, but I just don't think it'll be specifically by their gameplay necessarily that they'll get to the end. It's like the opposite of that. They'll be dragged to the end because their gameplay is not great. So I'm giving her a 3. I don't think she's as terrible, maybe as you guys are feeling for her, but yeah, a 3.
Me, apparently. This is so odd. Aren't I usually with the higher numbers?
With the people that we like, and we're going to see if there's the argument.
This is what happens when you go backwards from the end of the alphabet. I guess the later you are in the alphabet, the worse you are at the game.
It threw everything off, apparently. Well, the audience actually gave her a 4.
Okay.
Which really surprises me. But that is going to average her out to a 3. So that's on par with you guys. So that makes sense.
And I think it also, like, I would not be surprised. We see this with RHAP as well, that, like, when you are a bigger character and maybe a bit more likable, you tend to get a bump from people. Not to say the audience, like, excuses subpar gameplay, but I could very easily see people be like, Tiffany's been one of the standouts so far. She's made moves on her tribe. She's getting a 4. Like, I could understand the logic behind that.
And she's also like shown in the not last episode, but the 2 before, that she's pretty capable in tossing beanbags onto like ledges and stuff. So they're probably taking that into consideration as well, that maybe she will win some of these individual immunities, which will boost her up in her competitive threat level.
Especially when Jeff like calls her out for, what was it, like slodging through the water. And so from then on,
but then Heather became the new Tiffany. Like she was the new center of attention. Tiffany's like, all right, listen, I had my time in the sun. Now it's your turn.
I think that makes the audience though feel for her though. They're like, Jeff, stop it right there. We don't get diving points. Okay, Sydney would be next here. Sydney, and I will start this out. She's not one of my faves. I'm going to be honest. I'm not drawn to her, but game-wise, I'm feeling like she's right there in the middle. She seems to have a little bit of influence on her camp, her tribe, but at the same time, it seems like her social game doesn't connect with everybody. So I'm not sure it's going to last. She seems reactive. I think she gives away information that isn't necessary, or she's not thinking it through when she's giving out information. So I have a love-hate relationship. So I'm sort of feeling middle of the road for her. I'm going with a 3 for Sydney. Chantele?
Oh, Sydney. I mean, I want to like her. I like the fact that she was, being Little Mermaid, swimming, catching these fish. Like, I find that to be great. I do like that she's in a pretty decent position in her tribe for the fact that it doesn't seem like Deshawn and Danny are willing to vote her out over seemingly Naseer, seemingly Heather, and seemingly Erika. So she's in a good position in that way. I don't know what will happen if there is a merge, though. I don't know if she'll be able to be safe within those guys, which she could be because they're going to be more of a target than she will, most likely. But I don't know if she's able to get along with other people or make other bonds with other people, which is, I just don't know because like half her tribe is ready to vote her out when they haven't even been losing. They want to, so I think she's a high 3, but she's still a 3. So like Dan is a low 3, Tiffany is a middle tier 3, and I think that Sydney is a high 3. So.
Yeah, you've been giving only 3 so far.
Yeah, what's up with that, Chantele?
Because everybody's just like, meh.
Pick
You're
a
just
lane.
feeling middle of the road. Okay. All right, Mike. How do you feel about Sydney?
Yeah, Sydney, I really enjoy Sydney as a character. I compared her to Alex Christie, or Drew Christie, I should say, from Survivor San Juan del Sur. She just has this very, like, braggadocious yet laid-back way of talking about herself. Like, yeah, of course they're going to go for me because I'm awesome. I'm the greatest Survivor competitor ever. It's almost Tyson-esque as well, right? Just like being very demure, but also very confident and funny at the same time. So to Chantele's point, I can understand why she may not be everyone's cup of tea. The fact of the matter is she is in a really good position at Luvu, right? Where, yeah, you might have someone like Erika want to get the road challenge to get rid of her, but Erika is very much the minority opinion there. It seems from like what we're piecing together, right, that like she at least has Deshawn and Danny. It seems like, I don't know if Naseer found out that Sydney tattled on her, but it seems like Naseer's coming to her at least. So like she has that going for her. So I think she's in a strong position on Luvu. And I do wonder from that perspective if maybe she'll do better socially than you might think. I know that she got off onto the wrong foot with Tiffany at that late night, shack visit, right? But I do wonder if she's able to endear herself to these other people. Could she do it with the post-merge tribes? I'm not sure. She also might have a target on her back because she is also someone who's very athletic. Like she was beating Xander in those swimming challenges. As she touts, she is awesome in every way. So like, why not? How would that not end up turning back onto her? So I think that I'm optimistic for Sydney if she's able to like sort of like what you talked about with Xander, right? Like get her feet under her and able to make a little bit of traction. I could easily see this going south as soon as they drop their buff. But for right now, based on what we've seen so far, I feel okay about what Sydney's been doing. It's more of an upward trajectory than we might think.
So what number did you pick?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I gave it a 4.
Oh, she gave her a 4. Okay. All right. Well, let's see. The audience gave her a 3. So she is going to average a 3, even though Mike has a lot more nice things to say about her.
A high 3, though. See that? It's a high 3.
Yeah.
It's a high 3.
I mean, listen, here's the thing is that, when we have seasons without villains and people who are larger than life personalities, people grouse. When we have seasons that have people coming on and being like, F you, like, I don't care. It really is split. Some people may be, I don't want them on their screen. So it's like, what do you want? What do you want, audience? You can't have it both ways. You have a very tricky thread to needle. And I think that Sydney is very good for the role that she serves, which is like larger than life, cocky character.
Yeah. It's a great character. I mean, absolutely. She is great casting. She is fun to watch, that sort of cocky thing, if you want to call that a villain, depends on your opinion. So I totally see that. Absolutely. Oh, look, we just got she's your winner pick. Okay. I don't know about
All
that.
right.
But we'll see.
That'd be really wild if she ends up winning. I mean, I would love it just because of the unpredictable nature of it.
Right.
But I'm so intrigued to see what the path is to get there.
Okay, so that does give Sydney a 3. This heads us into Shan, our good favorite. Hopefully there's some different scores here. What Chantele, start us out.
Okay, I want to go really high because, like, I think she's just fun to watch. She's fun to. Okay, they actually made a song with her, like,
yes,
they put that to the orchestra, you know, like, so that means she's really influential in the narrative of this game, in my enjoyment of this season. Her name is amazing. She's from Toronto.
Yep.
And I just like I'm enjoying everything that she's doing. I'm on edge. I'm like, oh my god, why did you do that? Oh my god, but it's working out for her. And so she may not be doing things exactly how I maybe do them, but I'm loving everything that she's doing. And I do think that she is actually in a very good position. I think with her going on that walk with Liana, allowing Liana to have that, you know, take the risk. She's like, I need my vote. You have it. I want you to have that. And so she has that bond with Liana now. She was able to share those emotional moments with Liana. I think that's going to be very good for her moving forward. And the fact that that team chose Shan to go on this, you know, what is it, summit walk, whatever we're calling it. I think that means that they wanted Shan to potentially have some power or whatnot. They like her, even though they haven't really met her or been on a tribe with her. So yes, she's done some things that are maybe questionable, but I do think she's in a pretty decent position. And I want to support her gameplay by giving her a 6.
Yeah, there we go. We got Chantele out of her 3 ruts.
Just 3 times 2.
Us a 6. Okay, Mike, what are you feeling?
Keep that graphic up. I'm doing the same thing.
Yes.
Here's the thing. Is it perfect? No, but the way I scored it is I sort of compared it to the scale of the season. I'm not necessarily doing it as like 6 is Boston Rob and Redemption Island and 1 is Francesca. I'm just sort of like looking at the players of this season. What is the scale? And from that perspective, I think Shan gets the 6 for me. It's not immaculate in any way. But I love it so much. I mean, look, we have to look at the fact that there were 6 people on that Uwe tribe. They went down to 2. They went to 4 tribal councils. The only person who never had their name written down was Shan. That says something. Every single person who left the game so far said, Shan, I thought I was working with Shan. And look, that's perfect in a pre-merge situation, right? As Jeff vocalizes, they're not going to come back and haunt you necessarily. I think she can forgive her weaknesses because her magnetism is just like absolutely out of this world. It seems. It seems like she has that ability to just like reach out to whoever, draw them in. I mean, I guess that's the nature of her career to begin with. She's incredibly engaging, incredibly entertaining, incredibly sympathetic, empathetic as well. And I think it shows at the end of the day, no matter what in Survivor, no matter how many twists you might throw in their way or the numbers or what have you, it's always going to come down to people. And Shan is a people person, and people are winning out at the end of the day. And so I am so excited to see what she does here, because even though it's just her and Ricard, there's a chance that the two of them might be incredibly underestimated. We saw this with Matt Singh back in Survivor Philippines, because especially when you have a tribe like Luvu, I really am thinking that Luvu's going to self-destruct on themselves a little bit once they finally get to emerge, because they haven't had the opportunity to vote. And Shan's going to become that much more appealing. And she now has a new partner in Liana, who's at least willing to watch her back from that perspective. So it's clear that that means, I think Liana is going to try to direct the Yasa votes away from Shan, and that means a lot. So I think she has a good chance of looking forward in this game, despite the fact that she is down 6-4-2 at this point. And I think what she's shown so far is, while not a best of the best game, an incredibly fun one and a skillful one at that.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said. Is her game perfect? No, but it is pretty darn close to perfect. She has great relationships with every single person in her tribe. Like you said, like she basically could pick who was going each time they went to tribal, and each time they thought they were working with her. Now she's got relationships outside of her tribe. If for some reason it's coming down to they have to vote out her or Ricard, she's going to be kept. Yep. Because of her social skills, and she's got the strategic skills on top of that. She is an absolute joy to watch. Love it. I can't believe they scored her song already, episode 5. I mean, incredible. So yeah, I give her a 6. The audience gave her a 6. She is across the board a 6.
6 across the board. Yeah, on that note, not to deviate too much from the scores, but what did you all think about, obviously it was Shan's choice to get rid of Jeannie over Ricard. Mm-hmm. Agree with the decision, disagree? I'm assuming we're going to say agree since we're all the ones that gave her perfect scores this week.
I definitely agree with taking Ricard. Like, I know that they made it seem like maybe she was questioning whether or not she wanted to like take Ricard out because she didn't trust him, and that whole scenario with like, give me back the vote, and like, I'm not giving you back the vote, you're going to vote me out. Like, I think that whole distrust scene was just to put doubt in our mind as a viewer, but I don't think it actually caused that much harm in their relationship than what the edit showed. I think that they work really well together, regardless of that whole vote situation or the distrust situation. I do think that they need each other to do well in this game. I think Ricard is the next person coming out, so I can start talking about Ricard a little bit, or maybe not. But Ricard, I think, is just a little bit less than Shan for the fact that he needs her more than she needs him. And I think that that's like within their balance of like, he wants to say things like, oh, I come up with the ideas and she executes, but you need someone to execute, and she can execute her own plans as well. And so I do think that it was best for her to keep him, definitely, because Jeannie doesn't really add anything strategically, doesn't really come up with a plan to do anything to get them further in the game, but Ricard at least does. And so for now, I think that it's better for her to have Ricard in the game just so they can at least bounce some ideas off each other.
Yeah, no, I think she probably did consider voting out Ricard. I think she genuinely was concerned. She tried her best. I mean, the scene where she was trying to get that advantage back and Ricard was like, I was like, watching these two people who are really good at this game being like, no, I see what you're doing.
It's such a fun dynamic, though. I love it because, yeah, this is what happens when you get like two great strategists, not only working together, but also in a situation where there were only 3 people left. It's like if a tight 2 make it to the final 3 in a season with a final 2 where like, maybe they're going to start to turn on each other. It was incredibly stressful. Though I will say I sort of side with Ricard on this one. I don't think either one of them looked good in the way that they handled it. But but if I'm Shan and I'm like, hey, this thing I just did to JD, I'm going to do to you, is not a good look whatsoever.
No, I mean, I think that she came at it maybe not the best way, and he had to put his foot down. There's no way you let her take that back. Like, this is just a weird moment. Of course, beautiful for us to watch, but weird for them to be in. So I was a little worried that she was going to change her mind and ride with Jeannie, thinking Jeannie was going to be loyal to her, and maybe Jeannie was going to be loyal, but this dynamic duo, like, I just want to watch them. So I think she did absolutely the right thing.
And it's also spy versus spy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you're always like, are you going to get me or I'm going to get you? But no, we're working together. But we're like, are we? I do like that as well. And so if they have any sense of like the show that they're watching, they know that they have to stay together, and they can only really slit each other's throats like closer to the end of the game.
Yeah, it's very much like mutually assured destruction, right? Of like, listen, you try to go. I mean, Shan says that to Liana on the island, right? Of like, hey, if I'm gone, don't go for Ricard. It means that something bad happened. This is my last will and testament. So I love the fact that these are game strong players who can also like look at each other and be like, all right, I'm not really eyeballing you at the moment. Like, I see what you're doing right now. Yeah, you're the one that I got to work with from day one, but like also any port in a storm, I haven't had any opportunity to work with anybody else at this point.
So that does lead us into Ricard. And Mike, do you want to get us started on Ricard?
Yeah, so I mean, I'll actually sort of mimic what Chantele said before, because I totally agree that Ricard's getting a 5 from me, which is really just like really strong game alongside Shan, but just a little bit less for various reasons. I think that it sort of is personified at this moment that Ricard and Shan are the fire and the water. I think Shan is the more social person, but also maybe a bit more of a hothead. She's more likely to come in and be a bit more wound up. Ricard is the cooler head coming in to be like, no, it's fine. We're not doing this. But it seems like, especially from when I've been having conversations with the UA people in my exit press, that he did not make the best relationships really outside of a core group of people. It seems like both Brad and Jeannie basically said, Ricard didn't want to talk to us from the beginning. And I don't think that's a great thing to do, especially in a small tribe. So I guess good on Ricard for getting his numbers and getting them good where he didn't feel like he needed to talk with them. But to your point, Sarah, and I think it's another great reason why Shan kept Ricard, is I 100% think if these two are getting targeted, they're targeting Ricard above Shan. I think people get a much better feeling about Shan and Ricard. I think Ricard now has this sort of like oozing reputation of being a bit snaky, about being the strategist, you know, much like was opined in this episode's title, the strategist versus the loyalist. And that is threatening in Survivor. So I think due to the fact that A, he doesn't necessarily have the propensity to build those relationships, and B, there's a very good chance he would be targeted above Shan. I just got to go slightly lower and give him the 5. But I really like what he's been doing so far. I love all the cockamamie plans he's come up with, between floating out the idea to fake say the plan, to actually switching out the idol. Like, it's been fun to watch him be the brains behind these things, even if it comes down to him and Shan, the jury's absolutely giving it to Shan over Ricard.
Absolutely. I completely agree. I'm also giving him a 5 because I think he's right there. He is a great strategist. He's got a brain for this game, a mind for this game. But he's got a little bit of a stubbornness, which on one hand, I enjoy people who don't in the moment go, oh my God, wait, I should do this totally different thing that I wasn't planning for. And they get worried and they change in the moment. And I don't think that's a strength. So I enjoy the fact that he doesn't do that. But there is maybe a level of no flexibility that is dangerous. You got to be able to pivot a little bit. And I think he's missing that. And yeah, just give him a smidge under Shan is basically what I'm doing as well. Yep. Chantele?
Same smidge for me too. So 5 across the board. And obviously I echo everything that you guys have said so far about Ricard. And the thing is that he did say something that was really important. He was saying that like we're the only people so far that have really had to start playing this game. We've gone to so many tribal councils. We had to strategize. We've had to do all these things. That people have, like Luvu has no idea what Survivor actually is all about. And so I do feel like they're going to have a really upper hand when they get to the merge or whatever is going to be happening next couple of weeks. And I think that he is going to be in a good position, him and Shan, that they might just be able to sneak in, or maybe it's just they'll join Yasa and like they'll make those numbers a bit bigger. Like I do feel that they are both strong enough players to be able to, you know, reassimilate themselves into a decent position once the merge comes. And I think it's because he has a lot of strategic ability and can see the bigger picture. So I have a ton of faith in him, but I do think that he needs Shan and Shan doesn't need him. And that's why I have to just give him a little duck under, a little smidge underneath.
Well, the audience agrees. They also said 5, so he is a 5 across the board.
And this makes sense that I think we're all in agreement about Shan and Ricard, because those two have had the most exposure to Tribal Council. These are the two that we have seen the most from a gameplay perspective. So I think it makes most sense that, safe to say, I'm assuming for the two of you, that out of these 12 players, these were the two that I felt the most confident about in my ratings. So it's like we have 4 Tribal Councils of information to go off of versus 0 for Luvu.
Right, exactly. I mean, I'm still going, oh, do I know this person on Luvu's? Like, do I understand their game? No. But these people, yes, I feel like I do know their games. Okay, Naseer. I have been on a journey with Naseer, and this last episode just made my heart full. The edit reveal that he had the idol and that we got all the sayings at the challenge just filled me with joy. He has killed it in comps lately. I mean, his tribe is trying to throw things and he's single-handedly winning them. So I am going kind of high here and I'm going to give him a 4.
Okay.
I like him. I mean, I like what I'm seeing. I don't know. I'm kind of half apologizing for my score. Chantel, please help me out.
No, you commit to it.
I support that score because I also am giving him a 4. Woo. Because, okay, yes, he doesn't seem to understand the dynamics of the tribe. He shouldn't be saying anything to Sydney because Sydney is not like his number 1 ally. We knew that. And so we kind of were like, okay, what are you doing this year? But the fact that those guys, so Deshawn and Danny, kind of brought him in on the plan, even though he didn't agree with necessarily having the plan, he was brought into the loop with that information. Whether he uses it or not in an effective way, we are yet to see. But he is not an outcast, we'll say, of that tribe. He is respected a little bit more than maybe he had been shown to be respected in the previous episode. So I feel like he's gone up a little bit. And the fact that he did find an idol that Liana is probably going to steal from him or somebody, it's actually great. And he's not the best, but he did deliver his AstroTurf line decently.
Yes.
I give him a little bit of props for getting that out because I just, like, out of everybody that was there, I would think of him to be the last person talking about goats on AstroTurf. So I'm giving him a 4 because there was an upside in his game this week and he's in a better position than he was last week.
Okay. All right. Mike.
You know what? 4 sounds great. I'll have another one of those. Let's throw it on there.
Garbled.
Robot talk. But you're frozen in a decent position.
Yes. I mean, it's so lovely when people freeze like who was it that we had recently like froze just so perfectly? Oh yeah, Sharon. I was like, wow, how did you do that? Okay, let's try again. Mike is back.
Sorry, I was doing my impression of a goat on AstroTurf. Just
yes,
like garbled metallic noises. Yeah, so I think Naseer is in the mold of someone like a Holly Hoffman from Nicaragua or Lisa Welchel from Philippines, right? Someone who starts immediately like, I'm not cut out for this game. What am I doing? I'm all over the place. And like, just give him a little bit of time. Give him some wins under the belt. And they're going to move forward.
Oh, it's such, I bet you have such good information happening. Well, we heard the no. We got the no. We got half of what you just said. We got the top half.
We got a good portion of it.
Yes.
So
while you maybe bump out again and try that again, I'm gonna say that the audience also gave a 4 to Naseer, so we are across the board.
4.
Now I've got lots of Mike Blooms. Hold on.
That Naseer is able to make some friends because, like, that's what I think that he needs in this game.
Right?
I need some friends with my internet service provider. Is really what I need. I agree. I think that, and I think he is. Like, he seems like a warm, cuddly teddy bear. It's just like I do wonder how much of that paranoid day one Naseer will come back when he gets more people in his camp, or will he be someone that's like, I learned my lesson. I touched the stove. It was too hot. Let me never go near that stove again. To your point, Chantele, the fact that those two guys went to Naseer for a plan, and also the fact that he doesn't sign off on it and they say like, okay, we won't do it. I think that says a lot about Naseer's position, that, yeah, he does kind of screw the pooch in those first couple of episodes, but it's almost like Survivor is more about what have you done for me lately the vast majority of the time. And it seems like Erika and Sydney, and maybe even there's a case to be made for Heather, have done a worse job of digging something for themselves than Naseer, who, yeah, you know, did some snaky stuff early on, but at the same time, I think has endeared himself in a bit more of a powerful position. And someone who, like you talked about with Xander, I think could be a surprising challenge beast as well. He seems like someone who is incredibly adept at so many of these things John Kierhofer and the team throw his way. So, yeah, I gave him a 4. He's not in the most powerful position. I think there's a chance that idol could be taken. I think there's a chance that people think he's too likable and should be voted out, sort of like what Jeannie, you know, feels like as well. But for right now, I'm loving everything this year's given to me. So let me just will it into existence.
Right. I enjoy him as a character. I definitely enjoy watching him. Okay, Liana is next. Chantele, how are you feeling about Liana's game?
She's a hard one.
We got to see more of her this time.
Yes, we got to see more of her. So it did bump her up a little bit in my eyes, because the last couple of weeks I've been like, is she doing anything? She had that moment where she was crying over the fact that she didn't get her target out. And so I'm worried a little bit for her for being so fixated on Xander. But I do think she's in a better position this week than she was the last couple of weeks. For the fact that Tiffany seems to be at least talking game with her to convince her to go through the guy's bag, and they have that shared information, which is going to be a shared bond. And if Tiffany, like, that's information that she could use against Tiffany if she needed to. So like, she got some information there that could be valuable. And then she went on that summit walk with Shan. I think that that's really good for her, because at that summit walk, Shan says, "I will bring you with me to the end." Now, I don't know if she heard that, because if I heard that, I'd be like, what do you mean? We're not going there together? But, you know, the fact that Shan wants to take Liana to the end, I think is really good for her position. And so she has this advantage now. That means that she's going to have an idol, most likely. It's going to probably be the idol of Xander. She's going to be able to take out her nemesis, for whatever reason he's her nemesis, but take him out, which, you know, she's going to call her shot and she's going to hit. So with that, I'm going to give her a 4, because I do see upside in her game, and I think she's made a lot of improvement in her positioning. Mike, in her game, and so yes, I feel more favorable towards Liana right now.
Okay, Mike.
It's the 2. What's that face?
I know. What is this face?
Getting really close to the mic.
Yes.
6.
Ooh, yes, Mike. Do tell.
Fine, high is good. I thought you were gonna go low. Okay.
No. I might be biased because I think the last episode was by far her best, but look at the situation she is in at the moment. Within her tribe, she has like a tight twosome with Evie, and Tiffany is going to her saying, "We need to look at Evie." Tiffany, from what we've seen, is not going to Evie, saying, "Let's take out Liana." So, like, that's another tight ally of Liana's as well. And look, it seems like Xander doesn't necessarily have a problem with her. So, like, she can keep Xander in the game as long as she wants to. Then we move on to Shan. It seems like again, if we're talking about magnetism with Shan, the weird thing is, though, with that Shan-Liana stuff, it was Shan falling in love with Liana, not the other way around. And it's almost like you have to wonder, if the person who's able to get so many people to their side immediately throws themselves at the feet of this person, what does that say about that person? And so, not to say that like Liana's the most influential player of the season, but I do think that if she is able to endear herself to Shan, to have her open up her heart for the first time in the entire game to somebody else, like, that is incredibly meaningful. And with Shan comes Ricard as well. And with Shan comes an idol and an extra vote. That's incredibly powerful. Liana has Evie, who seems to have Deshawn. That's incredibly powerful as well. On top of all that, I think Liana is incredibly underestimated because of her age. I can't imagine, unless she draws a big target on herself for taking this idol from somebody, I don't see anybody targeting her anytime soon. And that is just enough time for her to carve herself a path in this game while nobody is looking at her. I think that she is primed to do really, really well at this particular point with everybody that she's working with. And so it's got to be a 6 for me.
Wow.
I have a question.
Well,
So, Mike, do you know anything about like how that her advantage is going to work? So I know that it has to be used at tribal. So does that mean that you take it from that person, and is it before they vote or after they vote? Like, when does that go down?
So I believe the parchment said before the votes are cast. So basically, Jeff's gonna be like, all right, it's time to vote. Then she stands up and says, Jeff, I got something to ask. Xander, do you have an idol? Yes. Okay, well then give it to me. So I think it's not when the idols are played. I think it's before they actually go up and vote. People might correct me there, but I believe that's the case.
And she does not have to play it at that time, but she can only ask for it at that moment, correct?
Right. She can grab it. She doesn't have to grab it and immediately use it. That being said,
it will be a public grab.
Yeah, she everyone will know that she has it. Again, going along with the theme this season of idols just being out there in the open for people to grab.
Right. Well, I agree with a lot of what you're saying, Mike. I'm definitely enjoying watching her and what I'm seeing. But if I'm giving Shan a 6, I have to give her a smidge below. So I'm going to give her a 5. I think she does have great relationships. I think she does have influence on others in this game. And like you pointed out, she's got relationships in her tribe and outside of her tribe. This is a great setup. Still am a little worried that she is in her head. That's what we saw early, that she maybe kind of put a lot of pressure on herself or was overthinking. Now, we've seen that stuff before and it dies away. You get your head in the game and you're fine. But that is my fear that might get in her way a little bit. But yeah, I'm loving what I'm seeing, but I'm gonna give her a smidge below Shan, so I'm sticking with a 5.
We're all about the smidges today. The 3s and the smidges.
And the audience gave her a 5, so she is gonna average out at a 5.
I'm okay with that.
Not bad though. She's on a good trajectory at this point, I would say. If you compared her from episode 3 to now, it's a tale of two cities.
Absolutely. And
yeah, for sure. The only reason why I didn't go a little bit higher with her was because I wasn't sure if she'd be able to do it on her own. I don't know if she is the type of player that will be able to make a plan and make it happen, especially if it's in the indication of her being able to do that was with the Voce vote. So I'm not sure how confident I am in her being able to be kind of the leader. And so with that, it's kind of like why I didn't want to go too high with her. But I respect both of your guys' 5.
She doesn't have to be the leader if she's got Shan in her corner.
And that's the thing with Survivor is sometimes sometimes you don't need to be the leader. Sometimes the leaders all get voted out. And you're like, all right, well, I was the least leader. And win that way.
Very true. Okay, we are moving on to Heather and Mike. We're going to start with you.
It brings me no pleasure to do this, but we got to go from the alpha to the omega here. Heather's getting the Uno from me.
Good old 1.
It's tough because here's the thing. Pencil Heather in for like the final 7 or final 6, if not the finale for Heather. Because again, after that challenge performance, in what way are they going to ever vote Heather out? Is there ever going to be a reason to vote Heather out at this point? Outside of like maybe outside of it, but then that's that point of like final 6, final 5, right? Like unless everyone has an advantage at the final 8, I can't see a foreseeable reason why at this moment Heather would be targeted. She is someone who's not particularly threatening in challenges. Like put a ball near her and she might, have secondhand trauma from that. It seems like she is absolutely sweet as all get out. Like the fact that people were rooting for her, I think shows that she is someone who has been through a lot and someone that does show that she'll try no matter what. I don't know how much that will translate to respect in an endgame situation. Unless Heather goes through and starts like cutting throats, and maybe she has the potential to do that, right? There was that secret scene of the dream that she came up with for Sydney to try to target her. That's some fun ingenuity. I don't know if people necessarily see that of her. And so I do think that Heather is someone who could very easily end up making it to the finale, but has a small chance of winning. And so from that perspective, not having much agency and not having much power, I got to give her the 1.
Yeah, I agree with everything you're saying. I think I'm just now realizing I didn't give anyone a 1. So I gave her a 2, but I think the little credit I'm giving her is because of that dream. And I ranked her really, really high right after that dream. I put probably too much emphasis on that dream, or the made up dream. She's not contributing with comps. She's not contributing at camp, as far as I can see. She doesn't seem to even really be in conversations other than that dream conversation.
No, and when Sydney goes to the Love Shack, right? She says, like, I picked this advantage up because I don't want Naseer getting it and I don't want Heather getting it, which I guess is all you need to know as to Heather is there, but she's not exactly being brought in on a lot of stuff.
Yeah. And you're probably right. She's not going to be targeted, but that doesn't mean she's playing a great game. So yeah, I'm going to give her a 2, Chantele.
Oh boy, you guys make some great points. I'm between the two of you two. You know, I wrote down a 2, but I've been quite convinced by this 1.
The 1's right there.
So I think I'm going to go with a 2. And the reason why is, for one of the things that you did say, Mike, was the fact that nobody's going to waste their voting somebody out on Heather. And so with that, she will probably slide all the way to the end, which means that she has it's possible for her to be sitting in the final 3 seats, and it's possible for her to win. Possible, because she couldn't be sitting there. And so for the fact that there is a spot that she's not going to get voted out at all this game, I got to give her something for that, I guess. So yeah, she gets a 2. It's a 2.
All right.
While getting to the end, you know that she's going to be at the end. Like,
she can't.
Heather.
I mean, I guess it's too early to say she can't win, but I was going to say she can't win, right? Is it too early?
I think it's tough. I think if you're reading the edit, I think that's the case. And I think so. I think it's tough. I could see maybe there's something where she turns on the afterburners and like starts cutting a wide swath through this game. But the fact of the matter is, outside of that tear jerking ball moment, we really haven't seen that much of her. That I don't think it's there, unfortunately, from a story perspective.
Right. Agreed. Well, the audience is going to give her a 2, so she is going to average out at a 2, but we're rounding up to a 2. So that is Heather. But now we get to move on to someone that I love, which is Evie. I am enjoying Evie. I like watching Evie. We haven't gotten to see as much lately. I guess the last couple episodes, I feel like maybe I'm not seeing her as much, but I'm going to give her a 5. I think that she has influence on her tribe. They couldn't think a few episodes ago without her when she was gone. She might be working a little too much on Xander. That might be a flaw of hers. But I do still feel like she has, the head for strategy and sees the big picture. So I'm going to give her a 5.
I love Evie. I think that she's great. She's fun. She's playing. She's making ties with Deshawn from another tribe. I love that. I think she's in the best position in her tribe. It does worry me, though, about the fact that Tiffany has kind of spotted the fact that she is really close with Xander and is trying to take away that tie for Evie. So I don't think she's going to go after Evie specifically, but she's going to take out somebody that's working with Evie, which is not great for Evie's game. So if Tiffany hadn't sussed that out, I probably would have given Evie a 6. But because I don't think she's aware of the fact that she's doing a little bit too much in her relationship with Xander, and Tiffany has recognized this and is trying to get rid of that connection, I'm going to give her a 5 as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going with the 5 too. Again, we're like having like a big plate of apps, and we're all just like scooping and sharing. We all have the same taste right now. I think that they are in a really strong place. I think that, I think a lot of people were turned off to their bio in the very beginning of like, oh, they hate men. They're going to come in and beat this like headstrong drum and get booted early. But I think they also came in the interviews I did with Evie. They said, I'm just going to be laid back and easy and funny and carefree. And I think we're seeing a lot of that in Evie, how much they're able to endear themselves. Evie seems to be tight with every single person on the tribe, very much like the Shan in that regard. Why I smidged it, why I put it just a smidge below a 6, is because of that Tiffany conversation. Because of the fact that there are even people within their own tribe that are saying, I don't know about Evie. That makes me a little leery that if there are some trigger happy people, they're going to want to immediately turn on Evie at some point. And while Evie does have some comfort around them, they may not be as comfortable as maybe we thought back in like episode 2.
Yeah, I agree. The audience is going to give Evie a 5, so she is going to be a 5 across the board, you guys.
There we go. Oh, it's so simpatico.
All right, we've got just a few more left, and that gets us to Erika. Chantele, how are you feeling about Erika?
Who?
Yeah,
this is hard. It's hard. A tribe that hasn't gone to tribal, it's very difficult for us to understand what their gameplay is. Did we see her this episode and I've forgotten? I'm not.
The only thing we got was literally Deshawn being like, "Hey, let's throw the challenge to get rid of Erika." And that's
they talked about
that to me is a 1. Like if I don't know, like I didn't see you do anything on the episode. Did she sit out? I think she sat out from the competition.
She sat out. She did.
They still want to target her. She has absolutely no idea, it seems, that like she is not in with these 2 guys like she thinks she is. She's just right now clueless to what's going on in the game from what they've shown us. Maybe she's doing some mastermind work that they're like, you know what, we're not gonna show this. I said no one ever. So I haven't seen enough from her other than her completely making the bad call with going to one of Sydney's #1 allies and trying to throw her under the bus and not realizing that completely tanked your own game and they're coming for you and they're doing everything that they can. Like, she should be thanking Naseer for being so good at these challenges, because if it wasn't for Naseer, she would be out of this game. So right now, I can't see that much potential in her game. Maybe she'll make new friends when it comes to the merge, but it seems like she's going to be an easy person for Luvu to throw into the bus, being like, you can take out Erika. Weaken us by taking out Erika. And everybody's like, okay, perfect. Yeah, so they'll have 5 now, and Erika's gone. So I don't really see her getting out of this mess. 1.
Okay, Mike.
I smidged it. I went to a 2. Because here's the thing. I still am predicting that Luvu is going to turn on each other once the merge happens. We see this time and time again. A group don't go to tribal council pre-merge. They finally get there and they're like, I'm ready to go. I've been stuck living with these people for weeks at a time. I'm done. I want to go to different faces and vote them out. And so I think I gave Erika a 2 because I think her one escape route at this moment is essentially if she gets the Luvu people before they get her. If she goes to like a Shan or Ricard, a Yasa, and they're like, I've been wanting to get rid of Sydney. Let's do it now. Let's pull the trigger. Like, I could easily see Erika doing that. I could also very easily see Danny and Deshawn go to people and say, we got to get rid of Erika. Yeah. She's way too sneaky. She's been trying to do this. So it's not, again, terribly high. I think that, like you said, she misjudged the situation of not thinking that like Deshawn would go back to Sydney and tell her that she was targeting her. I understand her frustrations given that she did, come out. She did wait an entire year to play Survivor. And now she's just sitting on her hands for 2 weeks. It's very relatable in that regard. But her situation does not look good from an edit perspective. It does not look good from a position perspective. Outside of that 1 out, I have to give her the 2 here.
Yeah, I agree. I also give her a 2. I mean, she doesn't seem to have any influence on her team. We saw her suggest something and it didn't work out for her. But to your point, I don't know that she knows this. I don't know. So if she does go into some sort of merge-esque situation, I don't know that she knows to go to other people. I don't like that she's not contributing comp-wise. I mean, the last time we talked about her, some people in the chat did say she has helped with puzzles, but lately she's sitting out of the challenges.
Well,
so
they haven't had a puzzle since that episode with the balance beam, right? Like
Yeah.
That's the thing is that they actually have had a surprisingly slim amount of puzzles. It's been more so that Tiffany era, right? Of like the put the ball up on the shelf or toss the sandbag. So Erika actually hasn't shined that much outside of the first couple episodes and challenges. And then from then on out, it was, okay, you can just sit her and Heather and a couple of other people every challenge.
Yeah. Well, they're having to sit out so many people. That doesn't help the situation. But the audience is going to give her a 2 as well. So she's going to average out at a 2. A low 2.
I'm okay with the 2.
Yeah, it makes sense. All right, Deshawn. Mike, start us out on Deshawn.
So I'm feeling really good about Deshawn too. I think that he is someone who is able to, I think, make good with a lot of people, right? Like, look at that fact that Erika goes to him, confides in him. He confides in Sydney. He confides in Danny. He confides in Naseer. We've seen Deshawn really interact with everyone on an intimate level on Luvu, maybe except Heather. And that shows, again, how Deshawn, like an Evie, like a Shan, is sort of in this prime hub position. I think also he is surrounding himself with people that would be targeted above him in a post-merge situation. I think people are going to get rid of Danny before they get rid of Deshawn. They'll get rid of Naseer before they get rid of Deshawn. They're going to get rid of Sydney before they get rid of Deshawn. So I have very high hopes for what Deshawn is doing. I'm going to smidge it. I don't think it's the perfect 6 because there are some things. He tried to beat this drum, right, of like, let's throw the challenge, but has not gotten his way these past 2 times. 1, due to Naseer being awesome, and 2, due to Naseer putting his foot down. So I have to go with the 5 at this moment, but I think he is someone who's in a very strong position and someone who might be able to, especially if Lulu ends up being taken out, I think that he's able to be the last of his tribe. He has a very good shot of winning.
Oh, well, I give him a 4. I don't know. I feel like he does have some solid social skills. He is positioned well. People do like him, do want to talk to him and work with him. So I give him credit for the social side of things. And I would like to say he's great at comps and give him credit for that. But I'm not loving this energy of let's throw to go to tribal. I don't feel like that's a strong game choice. And so him putting so much energy into that makes me question him strategically. That's my concern with him. That's why I've bumped him down a little bit here. I like him for the most part, but I just, I guess I'm not loving him. So I'm giving it a 4. Chantele?
All right. So the reason why I think that he wants to throw the challenge, I do think his rationale is sound for the fact that if he goes in with 6 people strong, it's just going to be a big flashy target. And out of all 6 of them, himself and Danny will be the tastiest, boot at the merge. And so I think that making them look a little bit less powerful is what his intentions are behind taking out one of their own before. I'm also coming from the camp, though, that I don't like people throwing challenges because we never know what's actually going to be happening in the game. And so just stay strong for as long as you can, and then you can cannibalize after. But I do understand why he was doing it, and it makes sense to me. I think that he's in the best position in his tribe. I think that, yes, he like Naseer shot down the fact that he wanted to throw the challenge, but I do think for the most part, if he really wanted that to happen, he could convince Naseer to make that happen. I think that he just didn't want to push too hard for something that's like, okay, like I don't need to win this battle this time around. So I do feel like he's most influential. Like you also said, he's not first up necessarily out of if they cannibalize themselves. I do think Danny is a little bit more of a shiny target than Deshawn, and other people they might be able to convince to take them out. So because of that, I can't give him a 6. Like Mike, I'm going to have to smidge him down a little bit to a 5. I think so.
Wow. Okay. Well, you guys, the audience also gave him a 5, so he is going to average out here at a 5. You guys,
all right.
Yeah, you pushed it up. I am, I don't know. I guess I'm missing something here. Well, let's end it.
Good position, Like
I mean, I guess.
And also, I was just thinking, like, I gave Liana a 4, and I think he's doing a little
Mhm.
bit better than Liana. I think that he is actually thinking about the game, and he hasn't been
Yes.
tested, so it's hard to, completely judge what he's doing. And remember, with like not going to
Yeah.
tribal, I've been bumping everybody up a little bit because it's like that's still a
Mhm.
good feat. And so, yeah, I think I have more faith in his game than I do Liana, and so he's a smidge higher than Liana, we'll say, for me.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because while you say that like these people are in grade school, right, where Ricard and Shan are in high school when it comes to
Mhm.
Survivor lore, Deshawn wants to graduate. Like Deshawn's been wanting to matriculate at this point. He's like, get me to the next stage of things.
Yeah.
I think that does show a good instinct. I don't know. I'm always of two minds when it comes to throwing challenges. I feel like there's never going to be an absolute value of like you should never do it or you should always do it. I think it depends on the situation. I think that Deshawn has good enough instincts. The fact that he didn't go through with it every single
Mhm.
time, I think shows that like he can learn to sort of recalibrate. And so I think that shows that even though he hasn't shown his voting card yet, I think he has good instincts about him, which portends well for a good Survivor player.
Yeah. All right. I'm on board. I don't fight it. I don't fight it. Moving into Danny, though, we're going to end here with Danny. I have very similar thoughts of Danny since he is working so closely with Deshawn. This whole, it's the same thing. Like I want to say he's great at comps, but he wants to throw comps. And so I'm a little conflicted. So I'm sort of in the same boat here and giving him a 4 as well. Chantele.
I'm with you with the 4 because I
Okay.
do feel as though Deshawn is playing a little bit better of a game. Like he's doing stuff.
Mhm.
People are bringing him information. He has that connection with Evie that I don't even know if he's told really Danny
Right.
everything about, the connection that Deshawn has with Evie. So I think that Danny is in a good position, but I think Deshawn is in a better position. And so with that, I just had to go a smidge lower than I was doing with Deshawn, and I'm giving him a 4. And we haven't really seen much of
Okay.
him this episode either. And so it's
Right.
just kind of like, we know that they won. That's about it.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we wouldn't be finishing off this podcast if we didn't smidge. I'm going to smidge as well. I'm going with the 4. I think that Danny is one of the better players on Luvu. I think he has a
Mhm.
really nice laid back approach that I think has allowed a lot of people to approach him, even though that makes Naseer want to target him. He's well insulated, but I think we're eyeing this post-merge situation. And like I said, they are absolutely going to gun for Danny before they gun for Deshawn. Like you look at this guy, you look at the athletic background he has. I know that he lied about his career, but like he still says he runs a football camp. And so I think
Mhm.
that he's in a good spot, but not the best spot. I put him again in a similar position as someone like Naseer, who has good skills, likability, but I can also list off a laundry list of reasons as to why you would want to get rid of them in a post-merge situation that maybe I can't with a Deshawn, with an Evie, with a Ricard, with a Shan.
Okay. Well, the audience is going to say 4 as well. We are across the board 4s for Danny. And that's it with our castaways here. Were there any surprises? I don't know. Even though we weren't completely always
I
in
was going to say,
sync,
we were
we're
samey
similar.
here.
Yeah. Pretty close. Pretty close.
I guess
No.
that's my surprise is how close we were. Like, despite the fact that we have a range of airtime, right? From like trying to scrap pieces of paper together to string out a sentence for Luvu versus getting a whole George R.R. Martin book's worth of stuff on UA. The fact that we've all tried to kind of are on the same page, I think does really well for not only what we know about the cast at this point, but like what merge dynamics might look like. Of course, we're probably going to be surprised by what happens, but like all of us being on the same beat, at least as to what we think about these people, I think is a good sign about this cast and of the storytelling they've done so far.
Yeah, and I think overall we've all agreed that this is a great cast and we love the cast overall.
Absolutely. I really loved Shan sharing more of her story with when she was on the summit walk with Liana. And it was just like, you never really know what people really have gone through to get to where they are. And so it was a welcomed moment just to have just to fall even more in love with Shan, to know that she's actually really persevere and overcame a lot of personal struggles. So I love seeing that element, and I love that they're showing that a lot more this season. On Australia Survivor, they always have those little like snippets of like the life and like seeing them in their element and whatnot. And so they've been doing a little bit more of this season, which I've been really liking it. Some people have been like, it's too much, they're phoning it in, but I do like learning about these characters.
No, but what's the alternative? We're just like, all right, we only know them as players. All they talk about is game. No. Again, look, are we swinging a bit too much in the other direction? Of course, there's always going to be a happy medium. But like, I'd much rather they try this than for us to keep regarding them as like, well, we don't know anything about them personally except for what they do on the island.
Right. And Mike, what do you have a prediction? What the heck is this faux merge that we're going into?
My prediction would be, because I peeped the press photos a little bit, right, as the junket, and I saw a setup for two different groups. So my baseless speculation is that we're going to be divided up into two groups. Now, Jeff said this has never happened before, and in Survivor Fiji, they did do something where they randomly divided up into tribes, and one group was safe and one group wasn't, and only one group went to tribal council. Maybe it's something where they all go to tribal council, but only that group is immune or something, which would not be fun. That's something, again, out of Australian Survivor that I don't love, especially in a merge vote. But I guess I would rather have that than, okay, only those 6 people vote. Because in that case, that you get people getting essentially screwed by who they're randomly paired up with. Here, at least, you can still sway the hearts and minds of their tribe members. It just so happens there are now 5 additional immunity necklaces.
Do you think they'll be living on the same beach?
Yeah, I think this is like a merge. Like, I think we're officially living together. I think they also want to create chaos, right? If everyone's voting together, then everyone's going to be living on the same beach, in my opinion.
Okay. Is it possible that we're just putting Yasa and Ua together and keeping Luvu the same?
That seems a little janky to me, right? Of like, well, we have 4 and we have 2. I guess we might as well put them together. Like, that seems a little more of a slapdash twist than whatever they had in mind. Again, and it's also like, I mean, Jeff says like we have kind of a merge, so maybe the part is, well, it's a merge of 2 tribes together. But I don't know how I would feel about that. Like, I think Luvu wants to merge at some point, right? Like, they don't. Right. And plus, if they do that, they gotta merge at like 11 or 12, right? That's the thing that happens in 18-person Survivor season. So what, are they just gonna merge for 1 vote and then they merge again? That just seems useless to me.
Yeah, I mean, whatever they're doing seems useless if it's for 1 week, 1 tribal.
Yeah, exactly. Well, at least with what I suggested, right? They're still all going to tribal. It's just changing the number of people that are immune. Because otherwise I always they have a couple seasons where they do this twist at like the round before the merge, they have a swap or something, and then they vote for 1 round and then that's it. It always just screams to me like we had to throw something in at the last minute. As opposed to like we have strategically planned out when to deploy these various devices.
Right. Well, we will all find out this Wednesday, I guess. We'll see what this new thing that has never been done before. I'm excited. Thank you so much, Mike, for joining us on Nerdtainment for the first time. Welcome and thank you.
I'm so happy to be here. This was more than a smidge of a delight. This was an absolute delight. I mean, when it comes to talking Survivor, usually I'm more so into like the stupidity, silliness, fun, and games of it. So actually like dig my teeth into some like strategy gameplay talk is a fun muscle to exercise. So thank you so much for having me on. I apologize that I couldn't have replaced like the low dulcet tones that David brings, but like hopefully my nasally whiny voice was able to serve as a substitute.
Yes, we like a variety, we like to mix it up. And Chantele, thank you as always for joining. We always love to have you on here. And the chat, thank you guys for joining us live. We really appreciate it. Everyone knows where to find Chantele on Reality Realness. What are you covering right now?
Right now, covering The Bachelorette, The Challenge, and is that it? And Survivor, yeah, that's it. Crazy.
Well,
the summer was like nuts, and like now it's like I'm chill.
what are you thinking of the challenge so far, Chantele? Because I know since the time you've last come on here, like it's taken a definitive turn. Talking about changing phases.
Okay, I love the challenge. I'll always love the challenge. I've seen every episode. I watch them all the time. But I mean, I feel as though I love what's happening. I like this new twist that's going on with the challenge. I'm curious to see how it's going to play out. So I'm enjoying the season. But what's worrying me the most is that they're starting All Stars. I've been hearing that some of the main season challenge people are been asked to go on All Stars, and I'm like, don't ruin my baby All Stars over here. Just leave them on the main challenge. Like I like that show for what it is. It's completely separate and different. Just leave All Stars separate, and I'll be a happy camper. But yeah, I don't think it's an amazing season, but I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, I've been liking it. I think that this was like a fun change to make. I mean, it felt like we were getting to a certain phase of the game anyway with the way everything was going. But yeah, I mean, there's another thing with All Stars, but I've been enjoying it so far. There's worse ways to spend an hour and a half of television. Though, of course, we're all watching Survivor live. It's one of those fun shows to like DVR and put on in the background to not really pay that much attention to.
Exactly. You got to start watching it, Sarah. Sarah's never watched it. I'm like, I think he needs to start at season 13 and go all the way through and catch up.
This is one of those shows that everyone tells me to watch, but I'm not sure that it's my show. I'm not sure. Maybe one day I'll get into it. I don't know. Mike, what do you want to promote? Where would you like people to? I mean, you've got so much Survivor content coming left and right.
Yeah, so you can follow all the stuff I pimp out there at a Mike Bloom type, but get more specific into Survivor stuff. So every week over on parade.com, I am doing exit press with the most recently booted Survivor contestants. So if you want to check out all the stuff I've done, again, this cast is fantastic and they offer really fun, contrasting insights about their time in the game, especially talking to so many UA people. It's a really interesting picture of that wackadoo first tribal council to like how people felt about each other. So that's all going on at parade.com. Every week, I'm also doing a podcast on Rob has a podcast called the RHAP B&B with the great Liana Boris. It's a Survivor Fun and Games podcast. None of this talk about gameplay or votes or anything. It's just a stupid time to do stupid things. Like, for instance, this past week, we had Aisha Welchon, and we had a game where our Liana and Survivor Liana, we had to figure out whose Instagram quote was whose, just based on what we know of them. It was an absolute delight. So if that is more so your style, be sure to check that out. We're there every week on RHAP. Outside of that, the other main stuff I do is on post-show recaps, which is a scripted TV wing of Rob Has a Podcast. I'm doing a Lost rewatch every week with Josh Wigler called Down the Hatch. We're almost done. We're about like 10 episodes from the end of the series. It has been a monumentally fun watch so far. If you're a Lost fan, there's a lot to catch up on, but be sure to check it out. And then I'm also doing a podcast every week with my wife, Angela. It's called The Bloom Files. It's about the show The X-Files, which she loves to death. I have never seen before. So every week we watch an episode. I give my newbie thoughts. She gives her veteran thoughts, and so on and so forth. So those are my mainstays. I occasionally do other stuff from time to time. Like I'll be on a BoJack Horse Pod, which is a BoJack Horseman rewatch podcast this next week, doing some other Marvel-y stuff as well on post-show recap. So I'm here, I'm there, I'm everywhere. You better beware, because I'm doing podcasts all the time. So I'm happy for any who indulge in listening to my ramblings. I truly have the time of my life getting to do this.
Right? We all love it. We love this. Gosh, I feel like the summer with Big Brother is like such a busy, crazy time, but you just listed just as much, and it's not Big Brother.
I mean, Big Brother, though, is also very focused, right? It's like very like, you're doing this, it's a 24/7 thing. Survivor, at least, I was listening to Rob recently, and he made a really great comparison when talking with Davey of like, Survivor is reading a chapter in a book and then like closing the book and then putting it down and like coming back to it after a few days. Big Brother is walking around with a book consistently, reading every word, and then new chapters pop up, and then like you have to go back and reread old chapters. It's just a constant task to work on. So I think it's a bit comparable from that perspective.
It's its own beast, that's for sure. And we get a celebrity Big Brother coming up. I was about to say once a year is enough, but we've got Canada, we've got celebrity. It's not really. It's more than once a year.
Yeah, three seasons a year now. It's a wild time to be a Big Brother fan.
Yeah. Well, thank you again to everybody. And if you're joining us later, please leave a comment. Let us know how you're ranking everyone, who you're rooting for, and what you think this merge-ish thing is that's coming up.
It's a merge, but a smidge. It's a smurge.
It's a smidge of a merge. Yes. Who knew smidge was going to be the word of the night, but I love it. So everyone have a wonderful night. We'll see you next time. Bye.